Hey guys, at BWCflies, we're going to tie up one of my own flies called the Purple Peril. It's probably my go-to fly from start of season basically through to January for us. It's a real confidence pattern for me. I normally will always go on the on either point or dropper straight away to start. It's just really effective, and it's not the one one the fish see a lot. So we're going to tie it today on a 450 Hanak jig in a 14, and we'll just tie it in a 3mm Hanak purple. Obviously hook sizes, bead weights and stuff, play with as you want. I normally like to fish at 14, 16, 18, but yeah, we'll get it started. So we just got Semperfli brown thread in 8/0 in there. So we'll just get that thread started behind the bead there. With my slotted beads, I like to just build a tiny little dam there just to lock that bead straight in place. So tail for this one, we're going to use Cocktailion. You can use the natural barred speckle. I'm actually going to tie it in a brown just because that's what I brought with me, brown, but you can play with the tail color as you want. I'll just get a feather out here. It's another good trick with it when you're using Cocktailion. Rather than just trying to pluck some fibers out there, which can quite often peel the stem, you end up taking way more than you want. We'll actually just go to this junk section here, and I'll peel all that junk off, and then that gives me a nice section to be able to just pull fibers off. So I'll normally go between 4 and 6 fibers for this tail. So tail length, we want just length of shank. So I'll wind that in at the head there. Just get it positioned so it's sitting nice on the shank. We'll trim our waist like so. Then for our rib on this one, we're going to use the Semperfli wire in a purple color. So this one's 0.2. I like quite thin for the body. I don't want to use too much flash in this one. Also, don't use your teeth. So we'll wind get our rib started there. And then the body on this one is going to be just natural coloured pheasant tail. So I like to keep mine pretty thin. So normally I would go 2 to 3 fibers. I'll just go 2 fibers on this one. So we're just gonna clip the tips of these where they're weak, so we get a nice strong bit of the stem when we start winding them on. So you probably notice here as well, I've kept my stuff all at the front, and then I want to tie it all back together because I want to keep this nice and thin. You've heard the saying for nymph fishing, thin to win. So we're just going to wind it back there to say just where the bend of the hook starts. We're going to wind back forwards like so. I'm just going to throw like a 2-turn whip on there because we're going to use our rotary function on our peak vise. So I'll just throw a quick whip on there. That's going to stop that thread jumping over the eye of the hook when we use the rotary function. So we'll whack that up. CNF Designs Hackle pliers, best there are. So we're just going to grab our pheasant tail fibers, pop them in our Hackle pliers, like so. Just tuck our wire back there into our tying clips, just so it doesn't get in the way. We'll just wind that on. So just got to make nice touching turns coming back. Don't want to build it too thick. I'm going to keep that body nice and thin. So you see where I'm going to come back here. I'm going to leave probably a 3mm gap at the head here. Because there's a decent thorax that gets built on this fly, I don't want it to get too thick. So I'm going to leave that space. I'll tie off my pheasant tail like so. Clip that. And we're going to bring our purple rib up through it. It's a very sort of, although people think purple's outlandish, it's actually a very subtle fly. So purple in the water is pretty close to being a metallic brown. I think probably in the spectrum, purple probably is really just a metallic brown. So we're just going to pinch that wire off. So I'll get a wrap there, fold it back, crease it, another wrap. Then we can just helicopter that wire off. So what I've got, what we're going to use for the thorax, for the wing case I should say, just a bit of scud back from Hareline. So we're just going to snip off a little section like that. So I like to just cut a tiny little V at the tip there, just so it sort of curves around and pinches in nicer. So just going to spin it up so it flips back. So we'll just bind that down nicely. Like so. So for the thorax, it's got to be Spectra Dub number 46. There's a few magical materials, I think, in trout fishing. So I've tried to actually pack as many into this fly as I can. So pheasant tail is one of them, coculone is another, Spectra Dub 46 is another. So I want to keep this thorax quite subtle. We don't want a big bulky thorax. So just show you, so my pinch amount is sort of literally looks like that. It's not much in the hands. We can always add more if we need to, but all right, so that's our thorax in. So for the collar on this, we're going to tie in some Hungarian Partridge, another one of those magical fibers. So you can see if I hold the cape up there, when you buy a cape, and I suggest buying a cape, you get a good selection of colours, so you can get your white speckled there, your darker ones there. It's just really worth buying a cape. They're a little bit expensive, but definitely worth it. So you can either, there's two ways you can do it. I'll show you the first way, is you can basically just pluck a feather like so. So I'll pick out how many fibres I want to have in the wings like that. And I'll just clip the nose out of that feather to make a little V shape. Like that. So you can see I've just clipped the nose out of that, makes a little V. You can just pinch that around like so and just wrap the tide in. I'll show you another way where we're going to open a dubbing loop. So basically all I've done is just taken one side of that partridge feather and put it in a material clip. When I say material clip, you could literally just get a bulldog clip from Officeworks, or if you've got the money, you can grab one of the really good ones they've got here. There's a few different companies that make them, but if you're going to be tying a lot of those, I'll probably invest in a good clip. So I'm just going to use a needle here to split my threads. So get that thread opened up. So I'm just going to hold it there with the tip of my finger, like so. So I'm going to slide my things up there. So you can see I've just trapped those fibres in there now. So I like to turn my vise on the side normally and give it a spin just so that the feathers don't foul on the side of the vise. So you'll see they start to spin in all different directions there. So that's just what we're doing, is just pinching down those fibres in the thread so they stay nice and tight in there. So we'll get it nicely spun up. Then we're going to wind that collar in. So as you start the collar, you can sort of just use your finger to sort of direct those fibres back to face the right sort of direction, like so. Then I'm just going to take a few extra wraps in there to bind it all down, like so. So you can sort of see now we've got our hackle collar. So it's almost like a very European style of soft hackled Euro nymph. So we'll just pull our nymph skin forward here, and this is going to start to form our wing case now. So we'll whack a wrap over that. Because this is elastic, you can sort of get your case to the shape you want. So if I can see it like that, I'm just going to pull that till I get a nice shape that I like to see there. Might whack a few more wraps on it and then get it set. So now we've got a wing case on that fly. You're going to give it a slight tug and chop off the waist. You don't want to pull it too hard because when it snaps back, it'll pull out of the thread. So just going to give it a nice little snip there. All right, and then we're just going to whip finish on that. So that's pretty much done. Last thing we're going to do is grab our trusty Golf Flex Man. We're just going to accentuate that wing case a little bit. It's just going to give it a bit of a look like the nymph's gassed up and it's ready to emerge. So I'll just put a little drop there and I'm just going to spread it back down that body a fraction, like so. Then we'll smack it with our torch. Get it nice and set, and then there it is, it's done. So I'll give it a nice slow turn there so you can see what it looks like. And that's my purple Peril. Give it a go. You'd be surprised, a lot of people think purple's funky, but it will catch a lot of fish, I promise you. Cool.